Hello, and you're here with us on a new episode of Melt. I'm Ritvika Gupta, and on the show today we'll be speaking to Nandini Dias. She's the CEO of Lodestar India, and she's also a managing committee member at IAA. Anant had a chat with her. Hi, Anant.
Hello.
Anant, you spoke to Nandini about one of her initiatives, WorkToLiveToWork. So why is it at Melt it's important for us to talk about this today?
Let's understand one of the biggest tasks of advertising is habit change. We know habit change in the context of simple things like getting people to use soap or toothpaste or shampoo.
Yeah.
In the last few years after Narendra Modi became PM, we've tried to sort of inculcate his views on, say, cleanliness with Swachh Bharat. That's also habit change. Remember, we were talking about decades of habits of, of a habit of throwing our garbage on the road, and Modi is saying, pick it up. So what Nandini is trying to do really is to change a habit and bring awareness to a problem. Sometimes we don't even know there's a problem.
Right.
Like she tells us, 8 to 10 people die every single day, thanks to roughly, almost peak hour traffic on the railways. And we don't even look at it, we don't care. And a lot of the problem can be addressed by some simple habit change. That's what she's trying to achieve, which is why we're talking to Nandini about transportation problem on Melt.
Right, so let's quickly dive into the conversation. Let's get ready to melt with Nandini Dias.
Nandini, thank you for talking to us.
My pleasure.
So to begin with, for the sake of our viewers, tell us what WorkToLiveToWork is all about and why you started it.
So in simple terms, WorkToLiveToWork aims to decongest rush hour.
Right.
And it is very Mumbai specific just now.
Right.
And if you see the number of people who travel, it's also very specific to trains and railways.
Right.
So if you see the number of people who travel by train, we have about 7.5 million people who travel every day. The actual capacity of the railways and the infrastructure is almost 1/3 that.
Right.
So if you see a 12-rake train, you have 1,200 people who can sit and another 2,000 people who can stand if you're touching each other to maximum.
Right.
So that makes it about 3,000, 3,200 people can, jam-packed train. The average, in an average train, about 5,500, 6,000 people travel. So it's almost double the capacity of people travel, and obviously these people are all hanging out or on top of the train, and which is why accidents happen and people die.
Right.
So the number of people who die every day while commuting by the train is about 9 to 10.
Right.
So by the end of the year, we lose almost 3,200 people every year.
My God.
And if you see that, if you just compare, that's more than people who ever died in Kashmir. There's more than people who, in any of the riots that have happened, and this is year on year.
Right.
Unfortunately, I had 2 accidents which were like really close to me, and which is meaningless death like this because of the rush hour. And I thought that, if someone like me who's so affected, if even I don't do anything, every year so many people will die, and it will be, considered as Mumbai's resilient and Mumbai's, we can take everything in our stride and life will continue. So hence I started this whole initiative called WorkToLiveToWork, and the whole aim is to decongest rush hour.
Right.
And I've now started taking steps towards how to roll that out.
Right. Now, the problem of Mumbai and commuting and office goers has been as old as Bombay almost.
True.
Right? Now, since you started this, are there any changes, even 1/1,000,000th of 1% that you have seen? Now, for example, since you started this, we've had the Elphinstone Bridge collapse. We had the VT FOB collapse. We are seeing a lot of things still happening.
Yes.
Yeah. So what is the progress? And
so
what
actually, Elphinstone Bridge was one of the triggers. So my executive assistant died in that Elphinstone Bridge stampede.
Right.
So that was also a trigger out of the two days to start with. So on a positive day, I can say that a lot has moved. On a negative day, I can say that nothing has happened because it's such a large problem. But let me say, I think a lot has happened. I've been interacting with authorities, I've been interacting with offices, and actually going office to office, people to people, organizations, committees, to actually present the problems to them. So when I started, I started with International Advertising Association,
Right.
and they were the guys who encouraged me and said, okay, this can be the theme. Every year we do one thing which is for the good of the people, and last year's theme was Work to Live to Work.
Yeah.
Thankfully, because in part of that committee, there are a lot of media companies, and the companies came on board. So I wrote to Times of India, and I thought Economic Times was the best suited, because the whole campaign is aimed at CEOs and heads of offices who I know can affect change, who can make things happen. So the route that I took for Work to Live to Work was to ask offices to allow people to come not at the stipulated 9:30, but at a
earlier or
flexi
later.
time.
Yeah. Sure.
So 11 to 4 being common time, and 8 to 11 should be the flexi time or the
Right.
staggered time, so that everybody is not coming in at 9:30 and the rush hour is in a way spread out, so to speak. Once I started this and I explained this concept to Economic Times, which is a paper which talks to the business community, they thought it was a superb idea, and they came on board, and they were the first guys to come on board. Once they came on board and we started putting out the ads, and I have put out deliberately, hard-hitting ads which make you sit up and listen. They're deliberately provocative ads.
Right.
So we put those ads out. We've had great response. I think the first guys who came on is the community around us, which is the advertising and
Right.
marketing community, and almost every newspaper, every channel in the city has come on board. So I can talk of Indian Express, Lok Satta, Free Press Journal, Midday, Hindustan Times, whichever
Right,
newspapers that you can think. Television channels, the big guys, so for example, BTVI, when Megha Tata at the helm, she said, I will do a television commercial, because initially I just done press ads. She shot the commercial on her own and put that out. So the community around us, I think, are well aware, appreciative, and have joined the effort.
Right.
And if all of us can effect change, with that's being our daily job, I mean, I don't know how else can it happen.
Right.
So I think that's been a big benefit. Post that, I actually started then going into, let's say, the NHRD, which is the Natural Human Resources Development thing, chapter in Mumbai.
Right.
And they have 5,000 people. I've gone and presented to Rotary clubs. I've gone and presented to, individual companies. For example, the Tata Group. I reached out to the group HR head, Mr. Padmanabhan, and presented to him, and then he was excited and he called in all the 22, 23 companies
Right.
of Tata which are, which he thought were relevant. We presented that, and then they started sending me actually data to say, okay, this is the construct, like a Tata Motors. They send us construct saying, this is the timing that people are coming in, and this is the possibilities of, people shifting out. So there's been a lot of conversations with large companies, Mahindra, Nerolac. There's been a lot of conversations with companies which have either been inspired by it or were already doing some form of flexi timing, and then started understanding flexi timing for talent management as opposed to flexi timing for decongesting rush hour, and have started participating. So there's a lot of progress.
It doesn't matter whether they've done it for this or that, as long as the result is decongestion.
Yeah, but the extent will be different.
Right.
So when you're doing it for talent, it may mean that somebody is pregnant and wants to come and at a different time. I have a mother-in-law who's not well and I'm coming. But if you give the flexibility to the office, which says that we want to help Mumbai decongest so that people don't die, then the concerted effort that you have to do is pushing people out from the 9:30 to either 8 or 11, and that will help. It's not about then internal your office. It's not about me and my office and what's convenient for us.
Right.
It's also talking to a larger
So
community.
the responsibility to the city
to
that
the
you live
city,
in.
which says
Right.
that we can see there is a problem, and the government will do what it has to do over whatever time period that it will do. But in the meantime, if we all citizens sit and do nothing about it, you will find every year another 3,000 people gone, and you nonchalantly saying we are
Resilient and
we are
whatever.
resilient and whatever. So last year, and I started it in January, and by the end of the year, thankfully last year we had 284 lesser deaths than the previous year.
Right.
I'm not sure
You caused
I had
it.
anything to do with
You
it.
might have contributed to even one less death.
But even
That's
if
fine.
it is one less death,
Yeah,
I
absolutely.
think the fight is worth it, and I will continue it with equal amount of gusto.
Nandini, we all know the government is the largest employer in
Yeah.
the country. And as a consequence, largest number of people commuting in almost all metros are government servants.
Yes.
So what help do you want from the government?
In all honesty, I haven't reached out to the government to do this. Partly I didn't know how to,
Right.
and partly I felt that I'm sure they're doing what they have to. But I've started I've started working with the companies. But there's a lot that they can do.
Right.
There are bits and pieces of news which come. For example, BKC, they said they will do some stuff. There are articles which the government has put out saying they will do, but I don't think there's an implementation charter in place. And I would love to go and meet them. And
Right.
I think there are enough thoughts there to see what can be done. So I have met, let's say, the traffic police. Amitesh Kumar is on board. He's, totally on board and excited by what I'm doing because it helps traffic. So while he may not be only focused on railway, but he's focused on traffic.
Sure.
And he's, we are in conversations with him, but I haven't reached the government in all honesty.
Okay. Right. Now, suppose that you had a wish list. What are the impediments and how would those impediments disappear to this movement being adopted quickly? Because like you said, it's 8-9 people or 9-10 people every day. And then therefore, if you succeed 1 year earlier in your objectives, you're talking a few thousand lives saved. So what is preventing this from faster adoption? Whose help would you like if you can, talk to us? Even large corporate, for example, you mentioned Mahindras and Tatas, they are supporting you. So which are the large corporates where you don't have contacts and maybe we don't have contact? Who should support you? Which media house should support you? What should happen?
So I think the first is government,
Right.
because they're the largest employer.
Both state and central government.
Definitely, Mumbai,
Right.
whether it's the mayor or whether it's the chief minister, I think Mumbai as the government. So what needs to happen is probably staggering of even their offices.
Right.
For example,
And things like the court, things like the sales tax office, income tax office,
Yeah.
all of them.
No, let
they
me
also-
give some more. Let's start with just services,
Right.
For example, the electricity office, right? They are open at 9:30 and they close at 5:30, which is exactly the time you and I are also going to work.
Right.
If it's a service industry, maybe they can look at alternate dates. Maybe like some banks actually have different timings
Correct.
and have two
8
shifts.
o'clock, residential time.
Because if it's a service which I have to use, and you are exactly the only way I can use a service is if I don't go to office myself.
Right, sure.
So, it's the unwritten rule for business guys that they have done for Mumbai. You find, let's say, Santa Cruz, all the shops are shut on Thursday,
Right.
but Dadar is shut on Monday,
Correct.
and so on and so forth.
Right.
It's an unwritten rule.
Yeah, sure.
But it has happened.
Right.
So just taking learnings from them, can we do something? For example, in Parairelia, there are about 8 or 9 hospitals.
Right.
Can we look at the OPDs of these hospitals and try not getting them at the same time that people commute?
Right, sure.
And they are ill and they're not well, and they need, if they're going to fight the same train time, it's
Sure.
not it's not conducive for anybody. It's just demonstrates that we're not thinking enough.
Right.
And we have got into the 9:30 route because somebody in the British era decided 9:30 to 5:30 is the right time, and we are yet in that era. So can we relook at some of these things? So I think government, for example, we've discussed north, south, east, west. Is it possible that a note comes down, top down from the government which says, okay, all offices north start at a particular time, west start at a, and one can start at 8, one can start at 9, one can start at 10, one can start at 11. And 11 to 4 is the common timing, so that everyone, there is a common time,
interact with each other and do
they can
business with each
interact
other.
and business with each other, and the rest of it we manage the city well. See, unless either you build the infrastructure or you think how to circumvent things, but you can't say, I don't have an infrastructure, but I won't think.
Right. Nandini, the reason that I'm talking to you about this is what you're trying to achieve is a complex habit change.
Sure.
Right? So, and habit change is not easy. We all know that, whether it's getting people to brush their teeth or, not so garbage as, the Modi is trying to do.
Yeah,
habit change is complex.
Yes.
So, similarly, you need to have continuous conversation. It's not enough to talk once a year, release a campaign and so on. So what would you like media to do? Now media, they're all your friends, my friends. What would you like them to do through the year? Because it can't be we talk about this every January and the next January and the next January.
Yeah.
Because every day matters.
Yes. I think the help is, just now, largely people have, because I know them, have participated.
Right.
And they've taken the campaign for a month or 2 months.
Sure.
And I think most stories in media, at best you push them for a month or 2 months, right? And then they pick up a next story.
But this is not a story, no? This is a
Correct.
continuous
So
problem.
now, how long, for example, I actually asked one of the media houses and say, how come you don't report 9 to 10 deaths a day? Because it's every day. Somebody should, saying, but Nandini, that's the norm.
Sure.
If 23 people die, it's worth reporting, but 10 people every day to show it's so morbid.
My God.
But I said, but that's real. How will we create pressure if we don't put those 10 people every day and say, today's 10? Because that's the only way you can create pressure. That's the only way somebody is going to sit up and say, oh my God, 10 more gone. Oh my God, 10 more gone. Oh my. So what I feel every day 10 gone, and my heart beats a little faster to say 10 more gone. Unless more people get that, the pressure is not. So, as much I feel 10 are gone every day, unless somebody else feels that it's a lone battle. And but it doesn't mean it's, I'm, like they say, ek 100 ke barabar or whatever, I will continue the fight.
Sure. What can brands do to help you? Now, we're reaching an age where brands adopt causes or they take positions on certain issues. What are the brands you think should get involved in something like this?
I think all brands. If you, a brand with genuine purpose, we would love on board, as opposed to using the CSR money to show, but is actually doing all advertising in an alternate fashion. So all brands welcome, and if it's a genuine cause, I'm not necessarily worried whether there's a great brand fit. They need to come on board. So the next step that I'm looking at, as for decongestion, is to try getting people to move to buses. You've been reading a lot of financial problems that BST has. Are there enough people commuting? What are the reasons? Why is it not happening? I think the last couple of months I've been actually going to the market to find out what's the issue, without talking to again the government and the authorities. I've been doing this again by myself, and from what I can figure out, most people don't know what time the bus is going to come. So while there is an app which says, these are the timings, this is the bus, this is the route, but because of the traffic, it doesn't necessarily reach. So you don't know that if a 3:40 is at
on
what time,
or is it going to come at 4?
So people find themselves standing 45 minutes waiting for a bus.
Then they stop going by bus.
And they say, okay, even if train is fatal, at least I know every 3 minutes I will reach a place.
So in a way, the efficiency of the train is causing more and more people to go to the trains.
It is. The railways do a superb job. Every 3 minutes a train goes, and it's been. But the downside, it's over. The capacity is just not enough. It needs far more. So now I'm trying to get the bus connected to the bus stops with a simple, Internet of Things. You can do a lot where you just let you can figure out, if you go to the bus stop, figure out that the bus
The
is
bus
going
is
to come
10
in 3
minutes away
minutes
or
or
from-
10 minutes away.
Sure.
I think just even that will be a step to after the flexi timing. So while my push to getting more and more organizations to move and shift, this will be the second leg now to it, to say
To
that
try
let's-
and distribute the traffic
Yeah,
beyond the railways.
Beyond the railways. So if I can get some people more on the, it'll help the BST, because I can see
Sure.
that there is obviously financial problems in BST. But my core thought is not necessarily financial, but just to get people
Sure,
move
sure.
from.
But to decongest the
to
railways.
just decongest in the alternate. So that's the. So now while I've thought through, conceptualized, spoken to, let's say, Google, know what needs to get done, I yet need to figure out who the authorities are and what's the method to getting it done.
Sure.
And so I'd be happy if people hear you and the BST guys, and we know who are the right people who take a call, because it's easily done thing. It just needs somebody to say yes, and the rest of it, I think we will all pull together.
Perfect. So I'm going to end this conversation with two things. One is, as far as getting somebody to say 9 people died yesterday or 10 people died yesterday, I'll bring all the help I can to get some publication to commit to doing that every single day.
That would be lovely.
And then on IoT of things and linking it up, we'll put some people onto you, and I hope it works out.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So just to add, so now I've also got a new, Roger Pereira.
Of course.
And Mumbai First
Yeah.
are the new people who have come on board. So it's no longer just me. So while the International Advertising Association yet, and Ramesh and everybody yet
Sure,
stands by, Mr. Puneet Goenka, all of them stand by what we are doing. But I've also got Mumbai First as an organization.
I think this has to go beyond few people. It has to become hundreds to thousands for the
Correct.
movement to succeed well.
Yeah, and so now new impetus, new friends who are joining the struggle. So Mumbai First is the next lot.
Perfect. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
And hope to keep talking to you about this till this problem disappears.
Thank you so much.
And that was the conversation. Anant, it is indeed an incredible effort on her part to initiate a project like this. What do you think we can expect to come out of this?
What I'm trying to do and what I hope MELT achieves in this is to get heightened awareness of the problem. Second is I want people who can contribute in any small way to bringing awareness or arresting the problem, reducing the problem, to come forward and say, hey Nandini, we can do this for you.
Right.
I want all media companies to come and say, we'll help you. I want the government officials to say, Nandini, we want to help you. I want other cities to look at the same problem. The principle of the problem will remain the same. There's a peak hour which is compressed and very dangerous because of the compression. So it's a problem which we'll see in every metro. In Bombay it's heightened, and I hope this brings awareness. I mean, that's all I care for.
And if you wish to contribute, do show your support by logging on to www.WorkToLiveToWork.com. And that's a wrap on this episode of MELT. You can also watch all our content on our social media platforms. Our handle is Ready2Melt. You can also log on to our website www.readytomelt.com, and I'll see you next week, same time, same place. Goodbye.